We're about to get started in a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay, this is okay. How's my is it jumping? How's the service?
Nope, it's not jumping at all. It was. Now it's not. We're okay now.
We're okay now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yep. You can hear me? I can see you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Okay, then I'll move back some.
We good to go?
I think we're good to go.
Okay. So we're waiting for Dr. Hill to join us.
Okay.
And then we'll be getting started right away.
You know who's here.
Okay, no. Hi. Hi. We have a special guest also.
Special guest, always.
He's always a special guest.
Where's the special guest?
He feels the light. It's okay. It's okay. We're about to get started, people. Just waiting for Dr. Hill to join. Just give us 1 minute and then we'll be starting.
And then I was trying to sign on with my other device. Yes, baby. How's the TV? Is the TV too loud? Are you guys okay?
Yeah, we're fine. Because you might hear Elmo in my background, so it's okay.
Oh, okay.
We all in mommy mode. It's okay.
We got Peppa Pig over here, so you know.
We're all in mommy mode.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well, feeling blessed.
Wonderful.
On this thankful Thursday.
Yes.
Can you guys see me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm a minute late. I just came out of a session. Look,
No problem.
leader therapy to talk about talk therapy.
We have to keep it going. We have to keep it going. All right, Dr. Hill.
Uh-oh, can you still see me?
Yep, now I can. Yep.
Okay, let's see.
I
It's
can
loading
see you.
on my end.
Know what that means?
Dr. Hill, you're fine. You can just jump right into it.
Okay, I can't see you guys, but please let me know if it's any connection issues on my end. So, hey everyone, welcome to Talk Therapy Thursday. We are so excited to see everyone. Before we get started, of course, we got to give our disclaimer. This is not a form of therapy at all. This is just two licensed professional counselors giving mental health tips and suggestions with our fellow guests. If you are interested in receiving therapy, please email us at info@stepscounselingconsulting.com. So if you are interested in saying yes to counseling, please send us an email or you can click the link in our bio. So tonight's topic is public figure and mental health. And we have our amazing guest, our wonderful guest, Miss Bree Scullark, that is definitely going to share some gems tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to my amazing bomb business partner, Dr. Jones.
Okay.
Dr. Jones, yeah, look, you know I got to hype y'all up. So Dr. Jones, please introduce our wonderful guest tonight.
This is an honor, so I really appreciate you, Bree, for agreeing to do this. You wear many hats, and I don't want to get any of those many hats wrong because you deserve it all. I don't know how to do it all with being an amazing mom. So can you tell the people all that you do, please, before we get started?
Well, first, ladies, I want to say thank you so much for the invitation. I don't think I've seen you guys since 2019 when I was
Yeah,
pregnant
before
and
COVID.
Yeah.
my son too. Um,
Right.
so thank you so much for thinking of me. Thank you for considering me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Um, my name is Scullark, and my first career was a professional model, and I still model for good times and a good check from now.
I know that's right.
Uh,
Right.
my full-time work is trauma integrated yoga and mental wellness. So right now I am working in corrections or correctional health, and yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. So we're just gonna get
Yeah.
started. So we want to start from the very, very beginning, from when you were little Bree. Um, when you were little Bree, growing up, was mental health ever talked about, discussed in your household?
No, no, um, no. But you know what? I'm from an underserved community. Um, I'm born and raised in Harlem, and so I
Hmm.
just think that a lot of times there's just too much going on, especially in underserved communities, to really take that time and to focus on mental health. Like it has to be a very extreme case for
Hmm.
people to say, like, there's something going on, right? Like we have to
Right.
have people acting out. We have to have, by the time, mental health has deteriorated so much that people are homeless. They're having a hard time holding down jobs,
Hmm.
like things like that, or they're having outbursts. Then we discuss mental health, and even still, like, we'll blame it on somebody. um, you know that was the only time I ever heard of anything in terms of mental health.
Hmm.
And other than that, no,
Hmm.
nobody ever mentioned mental health when I was growing up.
Hmm. And when you did hear it like that, did you hear it in a positive tone? Like, I hope they get help, or, and I ask that because, growing up in the underserved community as well, and even West Indian community, it was not talked about. And if it was talked about, it was talked down on. Like, if, like, crazy,
Hmm.
or, pray about it, or nothing is wrong with you,
Right.
Was that the same for you?
It was. You know, when I would hear about mental health, it was like somebody lost their mind, somebody was crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
it was always like, they always blamed it on drugs, right? Like, so it was always like, yeah, so and so was on drugs, and
Uh-huh.
or they be like, oh, somebody got something slipped in their drink, and their mind never came back. And so
Right.
like that was always the tone of the conversation, instead of like, well, a lot of times like this is already like in the family, or maybe they had something already, like that was going on with them. We always got to be like, somebody slipped something in his weed. That's all I heard. And
Hmm.
it's just like, that's
Right.
not what happened. That's
Right.
not, I swear that's not what happened. That's
Right.
not what
Right.
happened.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the same for you too, Dr. Hill, right? I know we spoke
Yeah.
about this many a times.
Yes, definitely. Pray about it, or like Bree said, they're on drugs. Be careful. Don't leave your drink around. Things like that. And I think
Mhm.
that's what really contributes to that stigma. A lot of clients that I've had, the first thing they say is, "Well, I'm not crazy. I've never done drugs. I've never drank. I do." And it's like, you don't have to do drugs or drinks, to experience depression. So it's really big, and honestly, in the Black community, underserved communities, where there's this stigma of you had to do something to experience mental health.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm
You
happy.
were to blame.
Yeah,
Somebody else to
Yes.
blame. And
Yes.
that's not real.
pointing the finger, absolutely. And they're pointing the finger. And sometimes the person, it starts as generational. Like sometimes it's
Yes.
the family, people don't understand that. Or sometimes it's trauma that caused certain things. And everybody want to blame everybody, but we have to really work within the family. But I was about to say, I'm like happy mental health is kind of becoming a trend. Like I'm usually not one to jump on trends, but
Me
as,
neither.
as this
Right.
is, my passion, my career, what I went to school for, this is a trend that I'm actually happy it is trending. I see some people trying to take advantage of it. That's a whole nother topic. But I'm happy that people are following up on their mental health and looking into resources. So I'm happy that we are able as Black women to come together and discuss it and bring light, to it. Bree, we still have you. I hope we didn't lose her. Can you guys, can you hear us still out there? Bree, yep, there you go, Bree. I thought we lost you for a second. Can you hear us, Bree? We could see you, but we can't hear you. And she gonna come back in. Thank you for all those who are joining. I appreciate you guys for joining us. We're gonna continue shortly. Thank you for letting us know you could hear us. Thank you. We love when you guys keep us in the loop and let us know what's going on. Technology these days sometimes could be a whole lot. Okay.
I'm back. Hey, I
Okay.
think that so I tried to put my phone on like do not disturb, like airplane mode, but
I can't hear
maybe
you.
that's better.
No,
Maybe that's
yeah,
gonna
I
work
can hear you.
better. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then we lost Dr. Hill.
Okay. Okay.
Trying us today, but we're not stopping.
That right. Right.
We're
Because the
not
dog is over
stopping.
here going crazy. The baby's over here. I'm like, no, that's not what's
We're
happening.
not stopping. We
That's
are
how
not.
we're doing.
Let me see. Yeah, let's see. Hold on one second.
No problem.
There, Dr. Hill go. Yep, she'll be right with us. I just accepted her request.
Perfect.
Hey,
Okay.
ladies.
Hey.
I don't know what happened. It knocked me out, and then I couldn't log back on. Listen, Instagram
Trying.
better stop playing.
They trying us. They are trying. But we just gonna go straight into it. Hello to
Yes.
all those who just came. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Bree, so we was talking about childhood, and now as someone who wasn't raised around hearing positive things about mental health, and who now aware of mental health and spreading awareness. As you mentioned, your first job, professional job, was modeling. You've been on TV. I've seen you in videos, and basically in the industry. How would you say that affected your mental health, or did it affect your mental health? I don't want to make any assumptions.
I think that there was so much that I had not dealt with in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that modeling was my tipping point in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I blamed modeling for everything. I was like, I'm miserable in this job and this and that. And, throughout my own process, my own journey, and in time, I realized that, like, I already had things going on that I had never really addressed. And
Mm.
spending so much time alone, traveling, being pulled out of my comfort zone, out of my environment, really just kind of um, shine light on those like dark corners that I was always pushing away, stuffing away, like insecurity,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a moment when I felt down to just be down. Like it's different being on television. Like, if when I'm working a 9 to 5, from 9 to 5, people are in my face.
Mm-hmm.
But at 5:15, I'm in my own zone.
Mm-hmm.
I get that time to decompress. But when you're working in a business that demands like 17 hours, sometimes 20 hours, that's a long time. And then and because of that job, right, like the side effect of working in entertainment is fame. And so walking out your door, you can't have like a messy day. You can't have one of those days where you're immediately like on a blog where someone's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, she's a jerk, she's this, she's that. And really it was just like, gosh,
She's
I might
rude.
be having a
Yeah.
down day, so
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say anymore that modeling was the reason that I was feeling the way that I was feeling. I probably always had the feelings I had, and it was just heightened because of the demands of that work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, um, what advice would you give yourself, saying that what you said, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give that model? And because how old were you at that time, if you don't mind me asking?
I started modeling when I was 19.
Wow. Okay, so what would you tell your 19-year-old self?
I love when people like ask that question, and if I'm honest, I would say I wouldn't do anything differently. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even give myself advice then. I think that like life has been my best teacher.
Mm,
Time has been my best teacher.
I love that.
And any advice that there isn't any advice that I could have given myself to make anything happen differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it needed to play out the way that it did so that I could be where I am today and who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say maybe just be still, be patient, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Would that be the same advice you give someone else that's becoming famous or entering the industry?
I would. And here's why. I mean, unless they ask for like a specific advice on a specific thing, like I would. And the reason that I would is because nobody's ready to receive anything until it's their time. You could plant a seed with somebody, but a lot of times like they have to go through the motions. They have to experience it for themselves. Cause like you telling a person like save your money, right? At 19,
Right.
okay, $5 here, $10 here, but they gonna spend.
Mm-hmm.
You tell somebody like, yo, take it easy. You don't have to be an envelope and write, like you at every opening to every letter, every this. Like they have to go through that, burn out from it, experience what you have to be burnt. You don't have to, but like a lot of times, like people don't, in my experience, I haven't seen much change unless my back was against the wall, unless I was in a specific area in my life where it was like, I've exhausted all my other options. Other things weren't working. And then I could hear. Then I could hear what people were saying, all that advice that people gave me. If I wasn't ready, I wasn't ready. So when I'm around young people, I let them be.
Right.
Because you're going to have your own journey.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Dr. Hill, thoughts about what she's saying as a licensed counselor who work with adolescents. What are your thoughts about that?
I think, how she said your journey, a lot of times it's in those moments when our back is against the wall that we really learn more about ourselves. So I loved how she shared, with her experience, it wasn't until those moments I really realized what was going on with me. And I think a lot of times we try to avoid those moments.
Mm-hmm.
So, saying that to a younger self, it's like, no, those moments are meant to be your greatest teachers.
Absolutely. 100%, because even when people start therapy with me, I feel like sometimes they put up a facade of what I want to hear. And I'm like, you're in therapy for a reason, right?
Right.
I can't help you hit that's not going to work. And it's nothing I haven't heard, seen, or whatever. So, like, tell the truth. What you live for is what you live. You've been through it. It is what it is. Now, what are we willing to repeat? What are we not willing to repeat? And just, take care. I just definitely don't think anyone should have regrets of what they've been through, and be honest about I'm not saying honest,
Right.
tell everybody your business, but be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? And definitely experience is the best teacher. So thank you for putting emphasis on that, Bree, because I think so many people just forget where they came from and forget what they did, and they're like, why? You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that, so I started going to therapy when I was 16. It was a requirement for court, right? Like I had to go to therapy. I was going through some situations, and it wasn't on me. It wasn't my fault, but it was one of the things that I was required to do was go to therapy. And I can tell you that like therapy for me was in layers, right? So being young and in therapy, I thought I was bad. I was wrong. I was crazy. And so I was really just trying to make conversation just to kind of like wrap up the time and then
Mhm.
go. As a
Mhm.
young woman, when I went in my early 20s, I think I spent a lot of time lying. We have to buy batteries, baby. I spent a lot of time lying,
Mhm.
right? Like, and I thought that a therapist, and this was subconsciously, but I thought that a therapist was supposed, like, I was paying you, right? So you worked for me.
Mhm.
I was paying you to convince me of my lies. Like, you needed to co-sign my shit,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
this conversation can be great because I'm here to tell you how I feel. You're supposed to confirm these feelings,
Mhm.
tell me that I'm right, right? And then I can go back into the world with like this false sense of self. And when
Mhm.
that wasn't working anymore in therapy, that wasn't happening, I was hearing myself and the BS that I was saying, then therapy wasn't it for me anymore.
Mhm.
Stop paying her. You know,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
when you start asking the powerful questions, that makes me like question what I'm doing. Okay, I can't pay for that no more because she's not seeing my perspective. I
Mhm.
don't need another
Mhm.
person questioning that. As a woman, I can say I've cut through a lot of the BS and gotten to the point,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yes.
okay, so here's where I am, here's what I'm feeling, here's what I'm experiencing. Like, and a lot of times therapists don't give their perspective. The ones that I've been with,
Mhm.
it's more about like, so how do you
You.
feel about that experience?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? Like, I'm not here. And that was another thing, is that like at one point I just felt like you were supposed to tell me what to do because you don't like the way I'm doing it, right? So then you tell me what I need to be doing with my life. And it was
Mhm.
like, no, this is about you being still and figuring yourself out for yourself,
Mhm.
right? What works for you. And a lot of that comes with,
Right.
you need to be honest. You need to get honest.
Mhm.
And but look, I started at 16. I'm 36. That's 20
Mhm.
years before I could get to the truth. People
Yeah.
want to go into therapy in 8 months be cured, and I'm like, girl, sit down and enjoy this. You're gonna
Mhm.
be here a while. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so
Absolutely. And I'm working because we work with ages 5 and up. So of course we approach everyone differently. Um, but when I work with adolescents, I definitely ask them what are their thoughts about therapy. Like that's always my
Mhm.
question is because a lot of people already thinking they're crazy or what you said, like you're supposed to convince me. So I'm like, be honest with me. Tell me what
Right.
you ever heard about therapy, whether it was on TV, whether it was from your friend, or if you heard anything at all. Because let's just cut all the myths out, right?
Right.
If they ever been in therapy, I say, tell me what you like, what you didn't like, what you learned. Like I want to know. You know, every therapist
Right.
differently, but for those reasons right there, my first session, I was like, I usually don't do so many questions, but the first session is going to be a lot of questions because I need to know what I'm working with and who I'm working with. But again,
Right.
still lie. You know what I mean? They could still put up a front. And that also comes with relationship building because at the end of the day, you don't know me. And I let them know that, like,
Right.
listen, I'm a stranger. I know if you were raised like how I was raised, what we discuss happens in the house, stay in the house. I'm a stranger. You don't talk to strangers. So your guard is already up. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
already thinking I'm judging you because I'm a professional. I'm a therapist. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with you not trusting me yet. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
expect you to trust me. Um, like I tried to address all those things at the very beginning, hoping that could help eliminate some layers of what you just spoke about. Most times it worked, but of course it doesn't because some people aren't ready. Some people who came to therapy because you mandated, like you mentioned.
Right.
Some people come to therapy because they got tired of people telling them that they need therapy. But until they're ready, and it's just unfortunate because if someone goes to therapy and not ready, then they go tell everybody therapy doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Right.
And then it
Right.
helps, and then it sometimes contribute to the stigma. And I'm not one of those people who force therapy. Like I would tell, I just did a speaking event, and I told somebody I compared therapy to two things: college and dating. One, I say dating because you should like try to connect, you know what I mean, with your therapist. Like date your therapist. If you don't like me, I'm okay with that. I just want
Mhm.
people to become mentally healthy and find something they could do. And I say college because no, I don't think college is for everyone. but I do suggest you experience it to confirm it's not for you. You know,
Right.
if you choose not therapy, what are you choosing to maintain your mental health? Whether it's practicing, whether you art, and whatever it is, practicing mindfulness, whatever it is, what are you doing to become mentally healthy? And that's all I care about at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to chime in,
Mhm.
can you guys hear me? My
Yeah.
video is freezing a little bit. I can definitely relate to that on a professional, but also on a personal sense. Because I'm a therapist with a therapist,
Me
and
too.
I have to agree, I even as a therapist, I still went into my therapy sessions like, let's see if she'll get it, right? And I had to almost check myself like, she's not a magician, just like you're not a magician. So she's not going to get something that I'm not sharing. And I really had to sit with myself. And I think a lot of it has to do with because mental health is not talked about in the home as a child, we all have that inner child within us.
Mm-hmm.
Even as adults, we all have that inner child. And I think sometimes in therapy, we're still seeking that advice and guidance that we never got in the home. So it's almost like, tell me why I operate the way that I operate. Tell me why my trauma is why does it affect me that way? And it's like, hey, I'm here to guide you so you can understand yourself. But really, that's a void from your inner childhood of not really getting that from your parents. And so you're expecting your therapist to almost replace that void. Does
I
that make
love,
sense?
yeah, absolutely. I never thought about that. I love that. Absolutely.
And I
Um,
think that, the thing, well, at least for me, right, was like a lot of unlayering. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm learning these things about myself, then all of the careers, relationships, materialistic values that I've had in place to keep me secure, as I change, right? You're asking me to, I felt like it was required of me to look around and look at how I designed my life, right? Like everything to support my lie, everything to support this delusion. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes giving up that delusion means I have to give up everything else. The relationship that really probably never worked.
mhm.
It
Right.
served a purpose for, a void that I had. Going home at the time to my parents, right? How I was, you know, uh, engaging in these relationships was people pleasing or it was avoidant,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now I'm learning myself and none of these things work. That's scary for anyone because then, like, now what?
Mhm.
Start over? And
Mhm.
most people don't want to
Mm-hmm.
start over. And I don't blame
Right.
anybody because it is a lot to come to ground one. So, when I left modeling, that's the situation I was in, right? Like, I've been modeling since I was a teenager. I dropped out of college. I had overnight success, right? And many of it, like, I didn't earn this the way that, like, some girls start when they're like 12, 13. And so I had lived this life that supported the idea of who I thought I was. And then I started going to therapy and learning who I was. And you
Mhm.
would think it was this empowering moment, but actually it was heartbreaking
Mhm.
because none of this really supported the woman that I was.
Mhm.
And so it
Mm-hmm.
was asking me, like, are you ready to live in your truth and let go of things? Or are you continuing to support this lie that you're living? It's a
Mhm.
very lucrative,
Mm-hmm.
shiny lie.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
many
Mm-hmm.
people choose the lie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Because
easier, it's simpler, but it's empty.
mhm.
Like, so I was like, I'd rather pay now than later.
Mhm.
I'd rather pay
Right.
now than later. I'd rather start over at 26 or 27 at the time than to do it at 56. Can I just ask you why you would scream like that? I'm just confused.
I have to laugh because I have a toddler also, and they
Yo,
just be like, for real, like,
two is
that's what we
not for the
doing?
faint of heart. Two is not for the
Listen,
faint of heart.
I have a 3-year-old sis. It don't get better. I'm just gonna be real with you. It's like it's another level of a game.
I, she just the attitude. That's the thing. Okay, so yeah.
But piggyback on what you're saying, Bree. Because people try to force themselves to like the person that they think everyone likes, right? And I feel like, and you started before social media was
Mm-hmm.
started, right? So you had this facade of who you wanted to be, and that wasn't even social media. Imagine the people now have this facade for social media and
Mm-hmm.
act like, you know, they're, and some people are genuinely happy on social media. I'm not saying this for all people, but those who are not genuinely happy and then are so empty, like you said, are heartbroken when they have to go off of social media. So going to therapy, like you said, making you face who you are. It's like, I didn't even know my original person. So now you're forcing me to learn someone else. And then you're forcing me to love the person who I'm becoming. And it also becomes confusion. You
All
know what I mean?
right.
Because that means sometimes you have to change your environment. That means sometimes you have to just change people around. It's like so many different changes. It's like, where do I begin? You know what I mean? And that's where therapy helps, because it helps you realize what has been good for you, what have not been good for you, and that you may not have been good for yourself. And sometimes people, like we discussed earlier, point the finger at somebody else. But when do you take time to look at you? Like, maybe you're the toxic one. Maybe you're the hurt one. Maybe you're the one. You know what I mean? So it's very important for people to start taking self-evaluations and just take a minute. And that's why I tell people, practice being still, like you said, because when you get
Mm-hmm.
time to, if you're always this like this, you don't have a time to focus on who you are, what you like, and maybe you're not even that person anymore, or even something why it was positive for you before, they may not be that positive part of your life. You know what I mean? So
Time you go to bed.
Right.
people need to definitely take time to self-assess themselves and who and what and where, you know what I mean, is around them. I think that's very important.
I think
Yes.
that that's a really powerful point. What came up for me as you were speaking, I remember my fears and how like paralyzing they were, right? Like so much of my self-worth was attached to my identity. And so
Mm-hmm.
to know that like my identity no longer served me, the idea of having no identity, it felt like a death. And
Mm-hmm.
felt like a very lonely, dark, empty death. And still to walk outside and everybody remembers me for this particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really care about no self-help, self-growing, da la la la. Like in the hood, you were this.
Mm-hmm.
You represented inspiration for this. And now you telling
Mm-hmm.
me you're on a self-healing journey and you can no longer serve me in this way? You're
Wow.
nobody. And for me, that was the core of a lot of my issues, was like I never wanted to be a nobody to everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what to do. And I was
Yeah.
alone, and nobody was supporting this journey. Let me just tell you, like nobody was understanding what I was doing. It was like, get
Yeah.
the fuck out. You
Wow.
Yeah.
telling me you going from making crazy money, you gonna risk and not make no money to try to find yourself? You are crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It
Mm-hmm.
was like, but as you were talking, it just reminded me of the fear that I had, and then also the being still. You know, for people who have been through traumatic experiences, people who are in trauma, especially like when I work with inmates, like stillness is it's very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It is, you know, like even when we do like meditation in jail, like it's always guided. You can always hear my voice. You can keep your eyes open. Like put in someone who is experienced trauma and silence, like it's not safe. And
No.
so like thinking back, like how did I learn how to be still? Right? Structure. Every day I get up at one specific time, right? I know that, like, and I mean, this is why I love working in jail, like the safety of, and people think it's insane, and maybe it is, but like at 7:30, this is happening. At 11, this is happening. Like I needed structure until I could trust myself to be with myself and to be still.
I
You know
love
what
that.
I mean?
Yeah.
I had to put like structure and an organization in my mind so that I wasn't always in a place of paranoia, of fear. Nothing else
Yeah.
was certain. My
Mm-hmm.
identity was gone, right? My self-worth was wrapped in that. I had nothing. So, okay, so now what? So I have to literally step by step create a building block of structure until I could trust myself enough to go through the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Yes.
very important for me.
I love that. Um,
Yes.
Dr. Hill, do you have anything I wanted to ask? Move on with. I didn't want to cut you off. Dr. Hill, did you have something to say?
No, I'm just reading some of the comments and I seen someone stillness shakes the nervous system. And I have to agree, Bree, what you're saying. And just even when you mentioned about, people who go through trauma, how stillness can really tear them up. And a lot of times it's because they got to face that shadow self,
Mm-hmm.
what they've been leaving or what's been following them from their past into their future. So I really like that comment. Stillness will shake your nervous system, but it's exactly what you need. Sometimes you got to be shaken up and broken down to really build in who you are
Absolutely,
supposed to be.
absolutely, absolutely. Bree. So first of all, somebody mentioned is the transparency. Thank you for being so.
Yes.
Appreciate
Oh,
that. Um, is that what made you want to now become in the trauma informed and spread mental wellness because of what you've been through? Because that's completely two different careers. You know what I mean? Somebody is like, okay, I was a model, and then like, it's
now I work in jail, right? It was
right.
funny.
I
I
love it
remember
though.
my best friend was like, one time he was like, sis, what happened? What did you see? What you mean you want to work at Rikers? What you mean? What did you see in LA, girl? Like, it was so funny because, like, he was like, you went from that to that? That shit must have been bad, But,
Right.
when I went to, Rikers, a few things happened, right? And so I just knew when I started yoga that I didn't want to teach in studios. That didn't speak to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it didn't speak to me because at that time, like, Black girls were not getting hired at yoga studios, straight
Mm-hmm.
up. Like, and we didn't really have like a lot of studios for ourselves. And so I was irritated with yoga studios. Like, they were always on the Upper East Side. They were always on like a nicer side of town, a more expensive elite side of town. And so I wasn't really feeling that. I wasn't feeling that. One, I wasn't really like welcomed at those places. And so whatever I was learning, however new I was learning that, I kind of felt like, why would I give it to you? You don't even want me here. No,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be here anyway. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So studio life didn't really speak to me. And then also what I learned in what I experienced in studio life for yoga was it was still very surface. And I had gone through something really like transformative. My child is on it. Yo. Okay, anyway. Um and so, like, go to bed. Um So I had experienced something really transformative. So it wasn't really about just doing a bunch of different postures. Like, I was learning how to change my life. And so
Yeah.
going to studios, they were really still focused on their body. And I was way beyond like thinking about like the physical part of yoga. So I
Yeah.
went to Rikers and I was asked to speak there one day and I loved it. And I
Mm-hmm.
just remember that when I got there, I got cursed out. I went to a female unit. I got cursed out. And as I was getting cursed out, this old lady was in there. And I always tell this story because it was so crazy to me. But like, she had a Bible. And she was like, can you sign my Bible? And I was like, no, I cannot. Like, why would I ever sign a Bible? She was like, I just need like proof that somebody came because they wanted to be here. Like, I just needed proof for that. And then,
Wow.
I don't know, I just knew I was going to go back. Like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
this plan. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like, when I got there, I knew that was what I was supposed to do. Why did they
Yes.
curse me out? For everything. For everything. Like,
Yeah. Happens.
Mm-hmm.
girl, for absolutely every reason it was, that had nothing to do with nothing. Like,
Right.
so women don't have like workout centers in jail. Men do. So women have lounges, they have medication, but they don't have like
But they don't have like places to actually exercise. So I guess I was bringing the yoga to like their lounge area, and the lady was like, "Yo, this is so crazy! Like, why would you do yoga where I'm trying to watch TV?" They cursed me. Thank you guys for being patient. My child is this is
Oh,
this is a new this
we're
is
both moms. Get
okay.
it.
Listen, yeah, both mama toddlers, we understand. You
This is
look, we
hard.
understand.
You get away with it because I have on a high chair with Elma on and snacks. But when them snacks run out, you're gonna see me moving too. So
Listen.
But you know what? He did good today because we did a photo shoot today for 4 hours, and he
oh
sat
wow.
very nicely. So he's just it's okay. He's over it. Like, come on, mom. It's my
Oh,
time.
yeah. He's like, Mom, I gave you what you asked for. It's
Right.
enough. It's my time now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I love that you giving back, and I love that you went back because, like you mentioned,
Yes.
it's needed. And Dr. Hill and I actually did a workshop for people who are welcoming back their loved ones who are incarcerated. And we did a workshop on how mental health sometimes are developed in incarceration, things like that. And you know, it's people sometimes like they're like the forgotten, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes like they don't forget because you see hashtag free whoever, whatever. But realistically, like you sometimes people don't really think about everything they are going through or don't have. You know what I mean? And when we were doing
Mm-hmm.
to do certain workshops and to see how much they're being paid for certain jobs and the expectations of them when they come home, it's like it's not realistic. So I just love
Right.
giving them some type of hope and some type of, you know what I mean, because it is definitely needed.
You know,
Yes.
that was and then I'll pass the mic.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
When I started to volunteer, I was doing yoga there. That was a main issue that I noticed was that, like, one, there was so many programs in jail, and I just felt like had we had this amount of programs outside, maybe they wouldn't be here. And you know, and a huge argument is always like, if you make jail too attractive, they're gonna come back, especially for the younger kids. Like, they were having like pizza parties, movie night. That's more attention and love than they've ever received.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's a catch-22, and also like the recidivism was so high, like the turnaround, and it made me feel like, am I just teaching yoga for clout to say that I'm here? Am I really affecting change or supporting change in here? Because they're coming back.
Right.
They're not like having this like awakening, and I really, you know, I didn't want to do it anymore. I recently got hired to do correctional mental health, and I'm excited to start this journey because
I can't hear you.
can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Yes.
There's just got to be a different way to really support our people so that we can stop it before they go in. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
But you know what? It's not only in jails because I've worked in group homes. I've worked in a drug residential program, and those too are revolving doors because, and I like the same reasons. Like when I worked in group homes, when I first started working at a group home, I was 19, 20, and they 16 years old calling me mom. You know what I mean? Because I'm the closest they ever had to anyone being nurturing to them. Like I had a young lady who would not, if my days off, she had to call me to say goodnight unless she was wilding. Like she would turn that whole unit up if I'm not telling her goodnight, because that's what I developed with her, but that's how much what she needed. You know what I mean? And she didn't know anything else, and it's so heartbreaking. And like you said, like it's definitely a revolving door because we give them all the tools, but then once you leave there, who's helping them maintain those tools?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like the programs you said, and it's like you're
It goes
back,
right back.
and it's
Right.
so heartbreaking to see. It's so sad to see.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it
Um,
is.
you was about to say something, Dr. Hill?
No, I was agreeing. I went through the same thing, working at residential treatment centers, and it is so sad. But I kind of, what I want to mention, it's a little segue. It's going back and it's segue in a little bit. It's going back to when Bree was saying how she would go to those different yoga studios, and it's like, I'm not going to give you what I learned. And one thing that I love to tell my clients in their healing journey is as you heal, really listen to your intuition and listen to that inner voice, because a lot of times while you're healing, that healing energy is going to attract what is going to take you to that next level and what could also make other people heal. And so, Brie, as you were talking about earlier, how you lost your sense of identity through therapy, we really realized like that identity really didn't mean anything. When you
Mm-hmm.
think about prison and you think about jail, that's the main place you're going to lose your identity. That's the main place your identity is going to be broken. So to see in your healing journey how that aligned, sometimes we're so worried about will we go back, but when you really listen to that intuition and I mean,
Yeah.
can y'all hear me?
Hmm.
Sorry, that's my time. That's
Yes.
my timer. I hold myself accountable with social media. But yeah, when you
Listen, no,
really
no, no, because I got all of these prayer alarms going off, and they just keep going. I'm like, oh my God, now I'm mad at prayer.
So I'm sorry, but I gotta hold myself accountable. But
No,
I'll
it's
definitely
fine. It's fine. Mine going to some place.
so I'll speed it up. But I just want to, put it out there. When you're in your healing journey, don't concentrate on will I go back to or will I repeat. Really listen to that new inner voice because it's going to align you to what's really going to be a part of that healing. And I think you going back to the prison, that's such spiritual alignment. That's such a healing alignment. So you're right where you're supposed to be. And I just love how you spoke
Thank
on that.
you. Thank
Absolutely.
you. That makes me feel good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll piggyback off what you say, Dr. Hill. And I always tell people you may relapse on your healing journey, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
It's
Like people,
okay.
like once they get in the groove of starting to heal, they like, yeah, I made it, and then don't know how to handle if they fall. And that's why I always tell people when
Mm-hmm.
we start the journey together, you may relapse, and it's go. Matter of fact, you will. You know what I
You
mean?
will. You
You will.
will.
Right.
You
And that's
will.
part of the journey. And I think
Right.
some people put so much pressure on themselves and so excited once they start healing that they just think the worst of themselves. Like, see, this is why I didn't, this is why, and this is why. I'm like, no, like we gonna get back up. If you got back up once, you're gonna get back up again and
Right.
and again, and it's okay. Like we just gonna keep this going. Like it's just another bump in the road, and I describe healing journey as like a maze. Like you trying to get
Mm-hmm.
out, you trying, then you bump into this wall. You like, so I got to go back a little bit, just a little bit to come back around that corner. And it happens, but we gonna do this together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it happens to the best of us. But we've been talking. It's like time been going. I do want to ask you this question, Bree, because I'm a promoter of self care, and you're a mom, you're doing all these things. Like how do you make sure you implement self-care? Because I want to promote that to people because we need it. Like we forget about
Yeah.
ourselves sometimes, and I'm guilty of it. So I'm talking to you as I'm talking to myself.
Right.
Oh, this is hard as hell.
But we, even if it's like 5-10 minutes, we have to have those moments. Like, are you able to
Yeah.
do it?
I am. I think that not having um like a routine for myself is a beautiful thing too, because now I have something to compare it to. I know what I
Mm-hmm.
look like when I don't have things in place for myself. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And that
Yes.
is in alignment with who I want to be. Because really what happens is I'm not showing up for my son. I'm
Mm-hmm.
incredibly irritated by him, because I'm so used to, I'm 36. 36 years I've been focusing on myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
to have a child who, and is genuine, is pure, is unconditional. He just wants time,
Right.
right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And so do I. So I know what it's like to fall off, but it's not broken. I know what it's like to fall off of my spiritual, like to walk, my self-care to fall off. And I know who gets affected. And a lot of times it's like me choosing him over myself, or me over him. And it shouldn't have to. We should just flow.
Yeah.
In terms of like what I do, one, I have to let go of expectations and pressure. Like, because I used to want it a certain way, because that's the way that I'm used to having it. Like, for us to have this conversation, like, I really don't want dogs barking in the background, the TV's going on, he wants 1,000 ices, now we have the iPad over here. Like, I don't want any of that. I just want to focus. I have to let that go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not what it's gonna look like.
Right.
With the flow.
And just accept it, right? It's gonna be messy, it's gonna be chaotic, but I'm gonna get the shit done.
Right.
And that's my goal. And I always try to dive into a spiritual program, right? So like right now, this month I did Ramadan, right? And this is my first Ramadan. I'm exploring a religion. I haven't converted, I haven't committed, but I needed that time to fast and pray all day, right? And I enjoy that. I have alarm set on my clock from 4:45 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. Every other hour I'm praying. And so people ask like, damn, like, why are you praying like that? Because the more I focus on God or something more than myself, the less time I have to be in my own BS.
Yes.
So I had to put an alarm to do it. Like, wherever I am, pause, pray, pause, pray, pause, pray, right? Another thing that I do is I try to be careful of spiritual intoxication.
Say that again.
Yes.
So spiritual intoxication, and so this is what I notice in the wellness community a lot, right? But I also understand the immaturity around it, right? And it takes time. Again, like, I've been doing therapy to some degree since I was 16. That's 20 years. Like, this is not overnight.
Right.
There's a lot of falling. There's a lot of surrendering. And so people feel really good when they start to do good with themselves. They really feel good. And that feeling is a high, right? You want to keep. Okay. You want to keep that high. And with that high, what comes is I notice a lot of superiority, elitism, right? I'm better than, right? Like, we're back on that pedestal. We need those people to balance us. Like, the only way I can be great is if someone's lesser. Like, all of those things are like that spiritual intoxication. Going in with all of these, like, new tools, and now you're like enforcing them on other people instead of allowing them the dignity and grace to make their own mistakes and find their journey. Like, all of those things, right? Like, taking a step back, not playing God. I make a very shitty God. So, allowing people the dignity to, all right, find your way. I'm here, I support you, I love you, and all of that. Like, just how I had to find my way, I had to surrender. People was there for me when I didn't want to listen, and I did whatever I had to do. I'm not God, I don't know best, I'm over here with it, right? Let me practice, because today is a good day. Tomorrow might be a real shitty ass day, and I might be in here talking about something like, oh, I do this and I do that and do this, and then tomorrow I don't do none of that shit.
Right.
But that's beautiful, because it's the humility of it, right? Because I haven't mastered
the transparency.
Right. So, avoiding that fear. No, you don't need to eat butter. You don't need to eat butter. Put this back. Okay. Right? So, like, it's just like, that's what works for me. Right?
Yes.
Like, and I know that it works for me because I've tried all of the other ways. Going home, trying to tell people how to move and live because I know what's best. That didn't work. Right? I've done all of those things, like, they don't work. But you know what works? Like, not treating like God as a high, as a good feeling, not treating all of these wonderful things that I'm experiencing as a high, and just accepting it as it comes and letting it go when and just, like, otherwise I'm just attached to like a good feeling instead of a journey, But that's what's been working with me: structure, prayer, and acceptance. Really, just acceptance.
I love
what it is.
every
Yes.
everything you said. For
Yes.
me, I agree with everything you said, and I also had to stop show up for everybody. That was something I had to do. Like I wanted to please all, be all, support everybody, be at everything, and I had to, especially having a baby, made me say, sit down, sit down. If you can't make it, you can't make it.
Right.
And that's it. Because I'll be in Maryland trying to be at the brunch, then try to be in New York and still doing homework, trying to, sending myself crazy. I had to,
Jay, you know I'm not coming.
no, Bree ain't coming. Bree ain't coming. And it's okay. I'm going to still love Bree. Bree not
Don't
coming.
stop inviting me.
I'm gonna come.
Bree
She
not
gonna come one
coming.
day.
But I'm trying to get on Bree's step. No, I'm almost there.
Right.
I'm almost there. But you know what? I had to start practice what I preach and set healthy boundaries. I feel like healthy boundaries are so important, and we're not taught that, and we're not
Don't
taught
get
to
the door.
accept healthy boundaries or what that look like. When people start hearing the word no for the first time, it's like, oh, she thinks she's better than them. Oh, she's grimy. Oh, she's acting funny. No, I'm just tired. No, I just need
Right.
it. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
teaching people how to be okay with someone else can't be there for you. It has nothing to do with you. It's on them and accepting that.
Right.
So a lot I had to fall back from certain people being so dependent on me. I can't. I have a little one that's already dependent on me. I can't have adults being dependent on me also. Like
Right.
I'm walking around with my luggage and trying to carry your luggage and you walking with your hands free. What
Mm-hmm.
what what we do, what we doing?
Right.
So I had to fall back. How about you, Dr. Hill? What's your self care? And ladies, it's gonna cut us off soon, but I'm loving this conversation.
I
I know
am
this is good.
too.
We need a part 2.
We
We
do.
do. We do. I'm all for this part too because we are hitting it, ladies. We're hitting some deep points.
And then
And
get a chance to read some of these comments, like people.
Yes,
right.
I
You
can't
know,
see them.
Right.
but people
So
have been commenting and Bree, that you probably gonna be all over Instagram where people been quoting you, Bree. You are speaking
yeah.
them, so
I cannot
you
see none of the comments. Oh my God, I'm
yeah,
so sorry because I just cannot see.
people telling you how beautiful you are. Like these
Yes.
Stop kicking the dog in the throat. Yeah.
every
I even see some people saying, yes, we need a part two. Yes, part
Let's do
two.
a part
Yes, we're gonna
yeah,
have to do a part
I
two, ladies.
like
Because
we gonna
we hitting some good points. And I have to agree with you, ladies. That was my part too
that.
with self-care of just saying no.
yeah.
A lot of times we don't say no and it's a fear response
Mm.
of disappointing people. So I agree with you guys on that part. Most definitely. And I also gotta agree with you, Bree. I love when you said spiritual intoxication.
Mm.
Girl, that need to be on a shirt. I
No,
love
go ahead,
I
Bree. Go
learned
ahead,
that
say
this
the last
year, and
one.
that took me out. I was like, oh my God, I'm treating my
yes.
spirituality like a high.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you know what? So many people do it, and I think especially in healing, when you healed and you finally have that aha moment and that enlightenment, we then look around us and it's like, oh, you're not healed, or you got too much trauma, you got too much toxic, toxic in you. And yes, it's okay to be aware of what's around you, right? And do that assessment. But a lot of times people feel like because I'm on this part of my healing timeline, you're supposed to be there with me. And if you're not on this timeline, you're beneath me, or what some people might say, you're not woke enough, right? So really understanding that healing is not meant to be used as a ego ruler. Like
Mm.
it's not meant for
Mm-hmm.
you to be led by your ego to then compare who else is not healed enough. So I
Mm-hmm.
love when you said that spiritual intoxication because it's so real. And I even got to be honest. There's been times where I have, exhibit that behavior. So that was deep. That was. I love that word.
I love it. So yes, I definitely think we should do a part two. Those
Yes.
who are interested, if it's a specific topic that you want to hear again or questions, please DM Steps Counseling Consultant or Bree Scullark and put it out there so we know what else to discuss next time, and then we'll get up with Bree Um,
Yes, and this child will go to his father's house. His father's house.
Right.
And we
Hey,
can
and
do
we'll
a
take
part
off
two
our
and
timer.
really just vibe like he can go to daddy's house. Daddy's doing Ramadan too, so he's like, you gotta figure it out. But let's do a part two.
yeah, and
Yes.
maybe
Cheese
we can even
butter.
in person or something. But I'm loving the vibe. I'm loving the
Yes.
content.
Yes.
Yes.
We definitely have to make this happen.
I would love that.
The Hill, you want to close
Right.
out?
Yes, you guys. So we are definitely going to do a part two. We love all of the comments. For those, I just see a lot of people have just joined. No worries. We upload our lives on our YouTube. So please subscribe to our YouTube, hit that notification bell so that way you can stay updated when we post these videos. And like I said, we're coming back with a part two. So
Yeah.
y'all stay tuned. Most definitely. If you are interested in therapy, please send us an email at info@stepscounselingconsulting.com or hit the link in the bio. Remember, guys, this is not a form of therapy. It's just two therapists with an amazing co-host, and we are just sharing our mental health tips and our, experience with mental health. So please don't take this as a form of therapy, but definitely use this as an aid of guidance. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Dr.
And
Jones,
follow
please
Steps
follow
Council
us.
Consultant and follow Bree.
Yes.
You want to spell out your where they can find you at, Bree?
Bree Scullark right on Instagram, or Urban Peace Squad, which is my community initiative. Either way, yeah.
And look on our post we tagged her, so you could just follow us. And our shirts, you can find our merch. Say yes,
Yeah.
say yes to counseling.
Look, let me keep it PG-13. No, I'm just kidding.
It's on our website, but we thank you all for joining. We appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Bree, we love you. We appreciate you. We thank you. We're not just saying this, we're definitely going to plan a part two.
I'd love that. Well, I love y'all. And we could do this.
Oh, we
As
love
long
you
as I'm in
too.
my house, I'm actually in my bed. I'm here. Okay. And early. Okay. So
I'm going to get
Yes.
the house this summer. I promise. That is a goal of mine. I'm going to make it happen.
Ooh,
Because
we
it
might have
doesn't.
to do a.
Go ahead. Would you say, Dr. Hill, you got to do a
I
pop
was
up?
about to. We might have to do a part 3 in person. I don't know. Part 2 might be virtual.
Oh,
But
that
we
would
might
be cute.
I might have to hop on a plane. I don't know, y'all.
That would be
We might have to
Listen,
do a
we
part
will
3.
be at Naturally She's Dope pop up shop. Naturally She's Dope pop up shop is
Yes.
June.
Yes. Hold on, I'm gonna tell
She
you
can
right.
join. Can you tell us your pop up shop? We'll all be there. Naturally She's Dope June. Can somebody say she's gonna kill me? I'm sorry.
No, it's
I think
okay
it's.
because I'll put it in my stories also.
Yes, and it's on our page. So yes, we will be there.
Yes.
And and Toya come drag me out the house because she knows. She's like,
June
"Hey,
12th.
friend, are you
June
coming?"
12th.
June 12th.
Look at the flyer. It's in New Jersey, the northern area of New Jersey. Please come out, support. It's such a vibe, you guys. We love y'all. Thank you for joining. Can't wait to do this.
Yes.
And please be safe and remember, you matter. Hashtag say yes to counseling.
Bye,
If
you
you guys
guys.
post this on, I'll repost it and have it on my page so it can live on there too. So I
Okay.
will
Oh, thank you.
talk to you guys soon.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, you guys.